Hi, and welcome to today's episode for September's Life Transformation videos. And I'm Jan Copeland with the Girls Guide to Real Estate. What am I saying? I don't even know the name of my own group. Girls Guide to Outrageous Real Estate Success and Live Your Girl Success Boutique. And today I am honored to be with Kara Pierce, who is with Keller Williams. She, when we first met her, was top 30 under 30. What year was that, Kara?
2017.
2017. Okay. And then this year she was honored to be chosen. Well, she is one of the top 100 agents in the country. That's huge. Okay. Kara Pierce. You have to know this woman. She is a powerhouse. She gets it done. And so as we're taping this, it is the last day, actually the second last day of August. She has 75 units closed, 15 million, and her goal was 100 units. Who joins me in thinking or knowing that she's going to make the 100? Me, you're going to make the 100. All right. So Kara, this is an interview style. This is with you sharing from your heart, a time of transformation in your life and sharing either one time or two times, whatever that's on your heart to share, to empower and just really encourage other women who will be watching this, most of whom are real estate agents. I'll interject with questions maybe, but I'd like you to share from your heart what you want to share in encouragement.
Okay. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Jan. I'm so inspired by you. That's my next goal, to get to the place where I can start really touching lots of lives like you, and you and Judy have really mastered that. So
thank
you. When you brought up this topic with me, I just thought back to my passion, which is, how to help immigrant children who come and have to assimilate into this country and how to help them with their trials. And I moved to the United States when I was about 5.5 years old. My father was in the military, so that was our reason for coming. And I really think when you have two parents who are working together, it's easier. But then he went back to Korea after 3 years and asked my mother to stay here so that we could have our education, my sister and I. And I think as women, we can all really relate, whether we have children or not. Being in a foreign country, not speaking it perfectly, not reading it or understanding it perfectly, no family members around, your husband's across the world, and you have 2 children, and you have to go to school full time because you need a visa to stay. So can you imagine the stress, right? The stress of that. So needless to say, my mother, she was a great mom, and I think she just started unraveling. My younger years of her are very tender, and she and my father fought like what's even the American colloquialism? It's like fought like dogs.
Cats and dogs, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. See, this is my second language.
Yeah.
But yeah, they fought like cats and dogs. And I do remember as a child, just my sister and I would always kneel in front of their door and pray that they'd be okay. I remember once she broke my dad's back by hitting him over the back with a grandmother clock. And that was burned in my memory as a child. But again, because they were working together, my 3 years in the United States with both my parents, those are probably the happiest memories of my life.
Wow.
So when he left to go back to Korea, I think there was some contention there. She didn't want to stay here without her family and all this. Mm-hmm. So maybe she felt forced a little bit. In any case, from age 8 to maybe 12 or 13, I can't really remember much of my home life. I can remember school and music and sports. I can't remember my home life. And I think that's a common symptom of PTSD.
Yeah.
So it was very abusive. And I really think that reflecting back on it in my 30s, I think if I didn't have outlets in music and in sports, I don't know how I could have survived it emotionally.
Yep.
Yeah. And I was very successful in the violin. And I think one of the reasons was because I had so much emotional,
Pent up.
yeah, confusion and all this, and it just played right into music. And so I'm really passionate about providing children in specifically immigrant families to provide them with either free musical instruments and or lessons, or maybe like a yearly get together to speak about where I was in their shoes and how we can get out of that.
Yeah.
And then maybe sports or something like that. But I haven't refined it. You inspire me because I feel like you're two women. You had an idea and you just went and got it. And you sort of showed me these things are possible. But right now I just have a bit of a vision. So speaking of transformations, you know, as an 8-year-old, I wanted to end my life. I remember I had a very rudimentary understanding of how that worked. So I remember, you know, I think my mom had been in one of her tirades, and I think a major part of the abuse was she wouldn't let us sleep. So she'd come home, have all her, you know, emotional energy she needed to burn up, and she would just, I think she would corner me or maybe both of us sometimes and just yell at us and told us how worthless we were, and for hours. And I would go to sleep maybe between 1 to 3 a.m. and have to wake up early in the morning for school. If I missed the bus, then, you know, that was hell to pay. So I would have seizures at school sometimes because of sleep deprivation. So this was the kind of emotional atmosphere we're talking about. And so, and again, she constantly told us how worthless we were. And to this day, when I think of myself as lazy and worthless. And people think, how can you think that, right? But I think that's what I've been told for a significant part of my life. Anyway, I remember going to the kitchen and getting a knife and holding it to my heart and just thinking, I just want this pain to stop. And, you know, now thinking about it as an adult, I'm not sure that would have been deadly, but I just remember that's where I was. And then I remember after that moment, just going back to my room and turning on this music cassette I had, and it was Dvorak's Humoresque. And I just played that, and I became obsessed with it and wanted to play the violin. Anyway, I was just listening to a speech by Dan Pena. He's a billionaire. And he said one of the best ways to help your children become billionaires, or something like this, he said, was to have them grow up in poverty.
Interesting.
Isn't it?
It is very interesting. What was his reasoning for that?
Well, I think he was saying statistically, I think it was 66% of the wealthiest people in the world have come from poverty or something like this. And
they work hard for it, yeah.
Right, you have to give them a reason. And one of my friends recently asked me, Carol, why do you have so much drive? And I said, well, because I was abused as a child. You know, it's funny, but it's true.
I get it.
Right.
I agree. I've lived the life, you know, that you're describing, so I get it.
You understand, and you and Judy are prime examples of how you rise from the ashes. And I think every single day I want to go back and save my 8-year-old self. I want to just go back and take care of her. And I can't rest until I've taken care of some 8-year-old child.
Yes.
And
I think that's so commendable. I just think that's amazing. So tell us, you know, because that's quite tumultuous. Tell us, you know, because I know you were pre-med. Like, can you talk to us about how you were in high school and how that, just, I mean, we need the abridged version, of course, but I mean, because you started so young, like, can you just like take us through a little bit about how you ended up where you are now as a top agent in the country, you know?
Right. Yeah, sure. I was this perfect little child. All my teachers loved me until about 7th grade. And then I hit puberty and I just started rebelling at home first.
Yeah.
And it bled into my school life. And
Mhm.
so I think when I hit puberty, whatever physiologically happens there, I decided I'm not going to take this anymore. And so I started pushing back. And then at school, I saw authority figures as threats.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I always did well academically. I was always the best in the violin. I I was the captain of the varsity tennis team in high school. I was the concert master of the orchestra. I was
Wow.
number 3 in my class is when I graduated.
Wow.
However, I also got into a fair amount of trouble.
Mhm.
So, I'd get detentions and things like that, and then I'd manipulate my way out of it. I remember
Yeah. Yeah.
that.
You're smart. I just have a question. Like, I know you didn't finish the other one, but I have to say, did you have moments of self-doubt? I mean, throughout all this, even though you achieved everything, right? Like your whole life, you've been an achiever. And it's like, do you agree that it's something in your gut? Like that you just like when you said I wasn't going to take it anymore, I remember as a child, I thought, I'm not going to be poor. I'm not going to have this weird mentality, this loser mentality. Like, did you ever have either, because I'm trying to get to the pain point of like, well, you said you wanted to commit suicide. So that's definitely, you're done. So when did you start coming around to become the Kara that we know? I mean, and I know we might have inner demons, but you're, in spite of that, you are progressing in life and you have 2 beautiful kids. You have an amazing husband who is about as funnier than my husband, and that's no easy feat. Um, so, like, talk to us about coming out on the other side, maybe.
Can I just be honest?
Yes, please.
Okay. I don't know about you, Jan. You might be at the next evolution, but I have to be honest with you. Every morning I wake up thinking I'm completely
Oh
well, I think it's good. I think it's good to share this because
no. Oh, absolutely. It's good to share.
for 4 or 5 years, I woke up every morning with puffy eyes. Sometimes I could barely open them. And I'd hold wet paper towels to try to decrease the puffiness. And then people would
Yeah.
make fun of me because I was Asian and I had puffy eyes.
Yeah.
It was just a terrible circle. Um, and so every morning I wake up thinking, do I even want to live today? Do I just, it's just the instinctual moment. And then I wake up and realize, oh, I have children, I have a nice life and all this. And for me, we did grow up in somewhat, we grew up in government housing and we were poor, but that was never the driving factor for me. The driving factor was to say, I'm not worthless.
Yes.
You're wrong.
That's right.
I'm actually not, but I constantly fight that. And I think
Mhm.
I'm so driven because I'm so afraid of that voice.
Yes.
So
Yes. And I think, you asked me about me, like, I don't, like, I wake up with doubt and then I say no, like, because I've been in counseling. And so I know I just verbalize no. And then I just act in spite of, right? That's what I feel like. Act in spite of.
act in spite of, I love that.
Mhm.
Well, and of course I go to counseling. I have years of counseling. I could never have gotten to this point without it. I needed that stabilization and I
Yeah.
still do. So go counseling. But
Yay. My
yay.
husband and I are in marriage counseling right now for the maybe 4th time, and our 20-year anniversary is coming up, but it's good. I'm not embarrassed to say I'm in counseling. I think it's a good thing. And I think everybody should be in counseling because it's really helpful and on so many dimensions.
It's educational. We all need it. We're all emotional human beings. But yeah, anyway, um, I think of course, I wake up with that initial gut feeling, and then I give myself positive affirmation and I visualize my next goals.
Yeah.
And really, it's never about the money. I don't even think about it for me, because that wasn't my primary trigger. I
Yeah.
think about my 8-year-old self and how what am I going to do to help her? And it's going to have to be in the form of other children. May I share a story very quickly?
Yes, please.
I just, like yesterday, I went to a listing appointment, and it was this really rundown house, and I was scared to go, so I tucked in some mace in my pants. And I told my husband, if you don't hear from me in 30 minutes, call the cops. So I went, and it was tenants who are going to be evicted next Friday, and the parents, they were just ridiculous. And then I saw the son. He looked like he was in middle school or high school. And I knew exactly how he felt for some reason. I just looked at him and I thought, you are my inspiration. And
Yes.
and every day I just bleed for children who are stuck in situations that are out of their control. And
Yeah.
goodness, woman, I just wanna help them. And I'm not going to rest until I do.
I love it. And I'm sure that once you crystallize, what that looks like, it's going to be amazing. And really, like for me, I totally get what you're saying. And I actually have family members who were raised abusively, and now they're abusing their kids. I mean, they like, they're good to them. They like them. They love them. They're good. But, just quirky things that's not quite right. And I say, you understand that's not quite right, right? And they're like, oh, really? Well, but that's the point. And that's why I'm sure you're a way better mom to your kids than you were parented. I mean, it's not even a comparison. And so I think that your vision that you shared with me that you have here and before we started taping, I mean, I want in because I want to take these kids and have them move in with me. But of course I'm old, and I wouldn't have the energy to do it anymore, to be honest. I mean, my grandkids tire me out.
If you don't have energy, nobody has the energy.
Yeah, no. But I'm just saying that I support you 100%. And based on the amount of women that I talk to, I would say more than 50%. I actually say 80% come from a tumultuous upbringing in some way, shape, or form. And I think that I'll also go out on a limb and saying that most of them keep it quiet. And I think there's power in communicating it, which is why after I had a discovery session with this sweet lady a couple days ago, that's when I got the idea. I'm like, okay, there's 30 days in September. I'm going to get 30 awesome ladies to share because this lady needs to hear some encouragement. You know what I mean? And so thank you for sharing, your story and being real. Because I think that the more women will be real and transparent and vulnerable, the better off we will all be. Because the enemy, like who I call Satan or the world, wants us to be depressed and down and, keep us down. But we need to know who we truly are. And we can't do that if we don't come together. That's why I love. Do you know how many women, 100%, and I just want to say this and I'll let you go, but when have you ever gone to an event where 100% of the women said it was awesome? Now, She's Unstoppable Live. We sent out, 500, surveys. Of the ones we received, every one of them said, please do it again. This is unlike, I felt so good when I was there. And the reason they felt good is because we didn't allow drama. One lady tried to cause drama. I heard about it. I pulled her over and I said, look, you're either going to have to leave or keep it positive. And nobody ever knew I did that. So this is the first time I'm sharing that. But Judy and I were very serious about there being no drama. Life is hard. Life sucks sometimes. And it wasn't going to suck it. She's Unstoppable Live. You know what I mean? So all that to say that the more we band together as women, and I'm not alienating men, it's just that I can't imagine men sitting there and sharing their stories. They just wouldn't. I know my husband had a similar background. He would never tell his story ever in a million years. Not even to friends. He just says, Jan, that's in the past, whatever. So I just appreciate you, Kara. And please, we're friends, and I just want you to know that I'm going to pray that that vision is brought clearly to the front, because I want in on it. Because my heart goes out to kids that are in the position that you were in, that are in the position that I was in.
Jen, thank you. And I want to say, just for I want to say my mom did the best she could with what she had. She loved me. And just because we love the people we love doesn't mean we don't hurt them. And I'm probably messing up my children. It's just, I think the difference is, are we open?
Yes.
Are we open to hearing and learning or not?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because likewise, I love my mom and dad, and my dad apologized to all of us before he passed away, because we talked to him when he was 80, and we were like, Dad, do you remember that time? And there were 2 times he did that. And he, in tears, said, I'm sorry. That was a big deal.
That's beautiful.
And then, my mom, she had a lot of tumultuousness in her upbringing, and that's why she did it. So, but she, unlike us, would never, she would admit the bad things that happened to her, but she would never say that that's why she made any mistakes, because her father looked at her and said, I didn't want you. Mm-hmm. And so her worth was down.
Right.
And so that's why she was. So it's not like I'm making an excuse for her, but she, like you said, your mom loved you. Of course she loved us, but she would look at us and say, you're never going to amount to much, things like that.
Right.
There's so much going on, but yes. And that's the thing, bring it up, because then it doesn't have power, right? It doesn't have power. I wish my mom would have known, been at She's Unstoppable Live, and been in Girls Guide, and seeing women not being catty and not being full of drama, because it would have changed her life. And so you and I are definitely in sync on that.
And Jan, I think these truthful interviews that you're sharing, I mean, thank you for doing it. I can't wait to watch yours and the other ladies, because this is the point. It's, let's talk about what's real.
Yep.
Let's share and let's see what we can do with it.
Absolutely.
Right. So
I love you, Kara. Thank you. All right, ladies, till next time. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.